All right. So we talked a lot about the Kobayashi Maru in the Wrath of Khan, but we still have lots to talk about. Frank, what else do you think about the Kobayashi Maru?
Uh, so I just kind of like the entire base of it, even though it can get a little like, if you think about it, can get a little, it can
Like,
get a little complicated.
Right.
like
Can
when you
you-
think about the reasoning for it, like the reason that it's there,
I
that it gets
don't,
complicated.
I don't really know.
One of the aspects that's complicated for me is that in the Star Trek universe, apparently this is an ultra secret thing that it's a no-win scenario that cadets may not even know about it until they're in the academy. Almost is kind of the sense that I get, and so it's like the best kept secret in the Star Trek universe is this no-win Kobayashi Maru.
I have a hard time believing that that's
Yeah.
like that. I mean, maybe it's possible. So maybe you go through it and then you're like, okay, now you're under like a gag order to never talk about this to anyone of lower rank than you, or any like.
That's what the impression is, right?
I don't know,
feel like
because
hard.
like in 2009 Trek, McCoy makes a comment like, well, no one ever wins that test and you can't go back again,
Right.
let alone for third. So it seems like they already know that it's a no-win.
But maybe that's the wrong, like maybe again, in the alternate time, like maybe that's just not it, or maybe in that universe it is, but in the normal universe, it's.
But even the fact that David Marcus knew that he cheated,
That's
or
true.
was it just like he like,
Oh no,
because the way
he just picked up on it, right?
Oh, okay. Because the way he said it almost made it sound like he already heard about those exploits.
Right.
So
But
yeah,
when-
I don't know. It's weird.
Well, what do you think about what the words that Spock said at the end after he had fixed the Enterprise with whatever, black
Different
wire,
hands.
green wire, whatever he fixed inside there? And he says to Kirk, what do you think about my solving the Kobayashi Maru? Do you think that kind of tied in the beginning of the movie and the ending of the movie, that they both understood that you're going to end up having to lose someone to save the day, and someone is going to sacrifice themselves
And
to
that's
save
where
the day,
saying needs of the many over the needs of the few.
Mhm.
I think,
or the one.
yeah.
Yeah. I've got a question for you, Frank. And I'm going to put you on the spot for just a sec, okay? It's okay. It's okay if you can't answer it. My kids are in Cub Scouts, and their motto is just do your best, okay? Can you spell Kobayashi?
Kobayashi.
Is that correct?
I believe
Let's
that's
look it up.
correct.
Did he
because
just
I don't know
nail
how to
that?
spell it.
He
Might
might
have.
The Y is what I'm.
Yeah, no, the Y is correct.
Is it?
Yes.
Did you
Let's
just
look.
Frank just
Yes.
nailed that, everybody?
Hey,
I remember
Kobayashi.
from my mom's shirt.
because I wear a t-shirt all the time.
Yep.
But
I
Fantastic.
don't think I'd know.
That's
With-
amazing.
With
I think the Y is correct. You're right.
with Spock's solution, he says, he calls it a solution.
Yeah.
It's his approach. I'm gonna call it his approach, because that's the whole thing with the no-win scenario. That's why someone dies no matter what you do, which is why it's no win. Winning means no one dies.
But
Right.
then,
I agree with that. Like,
right. But then,
Because
with that,
imagine in the original scenario at the beginning of Star Trek 2, okay, an option is to turn tail and run, right? But then you're leaving the Kobayashi Maru to die. So again, this is why it's no win, is because you're stuck.
Someone's
like,
always
someone's
gonna
gonna die.
Interesting.
Why the
Okay.
whole thing with Deanna Troy is also, when she did it, that is a version of the Kobayashi Maru, because the only way to solve it is someone's to die. The only way to end the scenario is to recognize that someone is going to die no matter what you do.
Mhm.
but then, see, I feel like that's not. I mean, it makes sense in that movie, but the problem is, like Kirk says, he's never faced it before. But like again, does he remember how many random people he's lost on various planets? Like even the guy who's running. And then, which I think is one of the funny, I shouldn't laugh at this, but like he's like, wait, Captain, wait. And then he runs and he lands on an exploding rock and dies. It's like, that's not a no-win scenario.
Well,
That person's dead.
he's never faced it where it affected him as personally as this, you know.
Right. Okay.
Because they were,
They were red shirts.
yeah, they were not as important to
Expendable.
him as Spock.
You are
Yes.
expendable.
Can you imagine doing that? So like doing a simulation of that scenario? Like as a video game.
Mm.
I mean,
Eh, yeah, probably.
I mean,
Okay.
it's probably not as impactful if you know it's a video game.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well-
I
And I
want
know
that.
it's a no-win scenario.
Well,
As a-
if you're going to do that properly, you know that every time someone goes to do it, it's going to be modified. It's changing it. So even though what we saw was maybe one version of the Kobayashi Maru test, there has to be multiple versions to keep everybody off kilter
Here's
if they're going
here's
to do it
some
right.
here's some homework for all of us, and I've mentioned this before in the past, but there's a Star Trek novel called The Kobayashi Maru,
Yep.
and it goes through Chekhov, Sulu. It talks about Kirk a little bit, and I can't remember if it's. I don't think it's Scotty. It could be. I don't remember, but really interesting take on it. In
Well-
their solutions and the repercussions for them. So my take on the Kobayashi Maru is that there's incredible learning that happens afterwards about
Mhm.
your responses, about what the decisions you make. Hopefully there's a debriefing at the end of this thing for these cadets, right? That they can go and talk about, which I think they talked about.
Yeah, they say that
all
they're going
cadets
to
meet in
the-
the boardroom or whatever, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Well, since Brian brought up books, Frank, I enjoy the Star Trek Enterprise book series, and the second book in the series is called The Kobayashi Maru, and in it, Archer is called upon to save a freighter called the Kobayashi Maru that's being attacked. The idea was the Romulans were trying to trick and capture the NX-01.
mm,
And in the end result, Archer had to turn tail and run because he either had to save his ship or save the Kobayashi Maru. And he chose to save the NX-01. And because of that, he is not loved anymore by his crew.
Coward.
Oh, really? He falls out of favor with his
Yes, he
like
does.
Archer falls out of favor with the
Yes,
crew.
he does. Yes, the crew.
Oh,
The crew
wow.
thinks that he had turned tail and run, and even in the continuing of the book, Mayweather, yeah, not the helmsman,
Oh,
he-
Travis. Yeah.
Travis, yeah, he actually leaves the ship because
Does
he's
he
so
ever? Now I gotta
disgusted.
know. Does he ever
Yeah.
win like the crew back somehow?
Yes, as they
Oh, okay.
progress into the Romulan war books.
Oh,
But-
okay, good.
But yeah,
gonna
Travis
lose
is
some
so
sleep.
upset because he was a boomer and he was on those freighters. And the fact that his captain turned tail and run and
So let me
didn't
get
save
this
his
straight.
people.
Let me get this straight. So,
Go ahead.
so this Enterprise book is about the origin of the Kobayashi Maru.
It's
It's
basically
what it's supposed to be is the actual. There was an actual ship
The-
that
Mhm.
Archer encountered, and he had to
Mhm.
choose to save his own ship. He had to choose to let them. Interesting,
yeah, it's
but
the
they
same
used
sequence.
Romulans instead of Klingons.
But even so, it's the same sequence where in the book it is Klingon battle cruisers that the
Mhm.
Romulans had copied, and
Oh, okay.
so it's basically the same scenario. It's a very interesting book,
Mhm.
and it just adds a level. It basically qualifies that it was a real event. But again,
That's
the books
cool.
are not canon, so blah
Yeah.
blah blah. Yeah.
So I've got a question for Frank. This is more of a visual question. How did you feel about Kirk's entrance into the scenario with the cool lighting and the music, and then the reveal that it's Captain Kirk?
I mean,
That,
Admiral.
yeah, Admiral Kirk.
Yeah, I'm not the
It's
only one who
like-
did that.
It's one of those things. It's hard because he's always captain. It's
He
like,
was
yes,
always
we know
captain.
he's.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Admiral
Yeah.
Captain Kirk.
There wasn't any music though.
There
don't
there
think
was,
there
there
was
was like
music.
there was the sound. There was a
Yeah.
As-
You're right.
as
Yeah,
you
there.
should.
Well, not the music. You're right.
Mhm.
But that it was a reveal. That it was,
It was
what'd you think?
intense.
All
Well,
I,
that's a
I, I
good-
liked his entrance.
Mhm.
Cool.
Was he like holding something like a book or?
Yeah.
Yes, he
Oh, I think
was.
so. Yeah.
Yes, he was.
The
He
birthday
was
present
holding.
from Spock.
Mhm.
It
But
was
didn't
the best of times. It was the worst of times.
Yeah.
Didn't Spock give him the birthday present after?
Well, no, he came in holding it, and Spock was like,
They talked about
Oh,
the gift.
you're right.
They
I was
talked
getting
about the
confused.
yes.
gift.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked his entrance. It was dramatic.
Yes,
Yes,
it was.
was.
Well, let me ask
So-
you this question, Frank. When it was happening, did it seem like this was real and not a test? Did it seem like the events that were happening were
Very
real?
first time you ever watched it.
The first time you watched it, were you tricked?
I don't remember the first time I watched it, but yes, I thought it was real.
That's
Cool.
good.
Yep.
Because one of the things was when the movie was coming out, everybody had heard rumors that Spock was going to die. And so when I saw it the first time in the theater, when it first came out, and Spock is dead on the bridge, I thought, oh my God, they killed him off at the beginning of the movie. How could they do that? That's crazy. And then, oh, I've been deceived. Now I know what
Yeah.
happened.
Right. Maybe they're
This
not
is
going to kill
pretty
Spock.
cool. Okay.
Yeah, I liked how they started.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
By the way, Frank just did what all kids do in this situation. They move to the comfy chair as soon as mom or dad get up, even if just for a second. But I'm proud of you, Frank. You got right back out of it. That's good parenting.
knows.
I haven't reached that level of parenting yet. He did no arguing with you whatsoever. So,
But
all
that's
right.
also accurate to the Wrath of Khan because Savick takes the chair. So really, Frank is just reenacting some of the great scenes of the movie.
Oh yeah.
With Admiral Captain Kirk, which is now what I'm going to call him.
All right. Thank you, Frank, for answering our questions about the Kobayashi.
Yes, thank
Maru.
you.
Mm-hmm.